Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. Today is our NFL team preview as we preview the Cleveland Browns. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner, and joining me is two gentlemen that know all about the professional and college game. The first gentleman played at Florida State University. He was an All-American in the 1980s. He was a first-round draft pick in the 1981 NFL Draft, my man, Mr. Bobby Butler. The second gentleman is a very talented high school football coach in the Atlanta metro area by Clayton County. He coached at Mount Zion, Dutchtown, Riverdale, and Lovejoy High Schools. My man, Kevin the Bull Jones. So if you like the video today, please come in and share it. We are 100 Yards of Football. So we're going to let Mr. NFL royalty, Florida State greatest, Mr. Bobby Butler, break down the Cleveland Browns for 2020 NFL season.
Well, you know, the thing about Cleveland, I don't hear the noise right now like we heard last year this time, right? When they had Odell Beckham, everybody had him picked they're going to the Super Bowl, right? And he said, and here I go again. You really can't win with pretty until you got your O and D line in place, right? Now, let's look at the 2020 Cleveland Browns. They had an excellent offseason. They had two of the best free agent signings. Then I'm just telling you, it's going to send them to another level. And then when you add a draft that was an A-grade draft, so let's look at it. What did they do this offseason? They got a free agent from the Atlanta Falcons, tight end, Mr. Hooper, right?
Right.
We got him in, right? A great tight end, almost had 1,000-yard receiving last year. He's going to be a guy that can move the chains. He's going to be a guy that's going to help Baker Mayfield throw a higher percentage of his passes. So we got a productive tight end. Along with, now, you partner him up with Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry. You got something now. But here's the thing. How can we protect Baker Mayfield? Well, you know, we got, to me, even though, you know, we got Hooper this offseason, I even like the other free agent signing with Jack Conklin. He's an all-pro offensive tackle.
Right.
Listen, all-pro. I ain't say Pro Bowler. I said all-pro. All right? If y'all know the difference in that, y'all need to Google that and look it up. All-pro offensive lineman, right? Okay? And so that's the best thing they did. And then to the draft, they added Jedrick Wills from Alabama. Look at those two bookends right there.
Right.
Look, now they're going somewhere because they can protect. And not only are they going to be able to throw the ball in an efficient way, they're also going to be able to kill people down the field a lot better. Y'all expect for Odell Beckham to do more end zone dancing this year. Expect that to happen for sure, right? Here's the thing. Not just their passing game, Nick Chubb is going to have an excellent year this year. Why? Because of the passing game. The spacing that's going to be allowed because of the passing game is going to make it wide open for him to do what he's going to do. And here's the thing. He don't really need that kind of spacing coach in the first place. Why? He's an SEC running back. He's a power back.
Right.
Listen, man, the way I look at their offense, it's going to be almost unstoppable. Baker Mayfield is going to throw for a higher percentage this year. So they're going to be able to control and possess the clock because he's going to be hitting those 10-yard passes, right? Those 8-yard passes, 10-yard passes, the Hooper, right? Then they're going to be able to catch Jarvis Landry in the slot, doing his thing, getting all that space to work with, being a slot receiver. And then you got the home run hitter.
Right.
Dude, they're going to be mighty powerful on offense. And then we look at defense. And let's be honest, that's where Cleveland Browns need help.
Yep.
This is where they need help. But remember, they got Myles Garrett coming back. Now, this is going to be something. I predict Myles Garrett going to have almost an MVP year this year.
Right.
He got something to prove.
Yes, he does.
So when we think about him, all we think about is that last game he played against the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? But I want y'all to remember, this man had 10 sacks in the first 10 games. Remember that now.
Right.
He was on his way to having a great year. And so I think he's going to come back a lot humble. He's going to come back with something to prove, and he's going to go to work. His numbers are going to exceed what he was doing last year, right?
Right.
I think also what they did with the draft, they added value to their defense in the draft. Let's start with Mr. Grant Delpit. Remember I said this to y'all, Grant Delpit is going to look like Don Rogers did back in the day.
Wow.
He's going to look like a Pro Bowl safety his first year in Cleveland. Remember I said that. Grant Delpit, right? Jordan Elliott, hey, look, Jordan Elliott is a dog.
Yes.
He going to be pushing the offensive lineman back in the quarterback face because that's what he do, right?
Right.
He's a real two-technique coach. He's one of them kind of guys, right? I don't care. Let me just get him, coach. Let me get up with him. Let me push him around. Then I'll throw him and make the tackle or make the play where I am. Play. I don't have to be on the edge and try to dip under. Let me just control it with my power. That's the kind of player Jordan Elliott is. And then Jacob Phillips. Let me tell you something. Jacob Phillips is that prototype NFL linebacker now. You know, they're not as big as they used to be because the game is a passing game now. You know, he's got speed, he's got quickness, he's got athleticism. He's better in space, right? And so he could be just the answer they need at middle linebacker, along with all the veterans they got. But remember, they finished 30th in run defense last year.
Yeah.
The Cleveland Brown defense has got to stop the run.
Right.
If they can make that happen, the Cleveland Browns going to have a pretty good year this year. Right? I don't know how far they'll go because when I look at them from an offensive standpoint, they got players. From a defense standpoint, they got to go prove it to me. They got to go prove it to me. And so I just hope they play better. On the high end, I predict them going 10-6 on the high end.
Right.
But I can see them easily being 8-8 or 9-7 this year in Cleveland. But it'll be a step in the right direction. And here's the thing. With the nucleus of players that they have now, it won't take much of an addition to put them over the hump in the following years to come.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay? That's what I got on the Cleveland Browns.
Mr. Bull Jones.
Well, Bobby, you hit some great points on Cleveland. And just so you know, Cleveland fans, I gave you all an A+ grade for your draft because there was some awesome things that were, it was position specific, which means that they took care of a need that they felt that it was a premium for that need. And the greatest part about the picks that they made is there's no gray area or whether they got somebody that can contribute right now. They got some, yes, they do have Beckham and Landry and Mayfield. And yes, Nick Chubb, who just recently last week, I saw him on a video of him on Twitter, power cleaning 460 pounds. Guys, power clean 460 pounds. Some guys, that is just totally unbelievable. But he's been doing that ever since his days at Georgia. Then they got Kareem Hunt. So they got a fantastic 1-2 punch. Their Achilles heel and what they addressed in the draft was position specific, and in their board of listing the top 45 guys in the draft, they were able to pinpoint those needs that they needed to have met to be able to have a successful draft. And I give them kudos for that. And yes, we can go down the line and talk about each player, but let me bring it to a head for you real quick. See, when you put the right people in place to make the right decisions, okay, I'm talking about Andrew Barry, who's African-American general manager and executive vice president of football operations. In that war room, the guy is only 32 years old. Only 32 years old, played cornerback, defensive back at Harvard, okay? He played at Harvard, guys. Okay, he turned down a job at Goldman Sachs, which is a top company, to go into football. That's what he wanted. Prior to coming to Cleveland, he was director of football operations for the Philadelphia Eagles. Last I remember, 3 years prior, they were in the Super Bowl. So he had a nucleus of learning the game from behind the scenes level to allow for great football minds to come together in the war room and pick up the people that they evaluate at a premium for their team to be successful. Yes, we all notice Baker Mayfield doesn't have a lot to say right now because he's happy. He doesn't have to say anything. He doesn't have to say not one word. We're going to make Odell Beckham happy this fall. Okay, now they got a tight end. Even though they got Austin Hooper, they still got another tight end who can transfer over into a receiver at any time.
Right.
Well, you know, Andrew Berry reminds me of a guy who another African American general manager in charge of player personnel that was able to build a dynasty, and that guy's name is Ozzie Newsome. Okay, being able to draft those guys that fit the needs to be successful and play in the Super Bowl game. See, those are things that turn me on about what Cleveland did. They checked all the boxes on what they needed. Jedrick Wills, yes, he's always been playing right tackle in the NFL. So what do? They got Jack Conklin, as you mentioned, an all-pro from the Tennessee Titans. They stole a good player from him, and they turned around and put him in there. So now he's the other tackle. Now, if Jedrick has a problem, then they always got Conklin right there to flip over to the left side until Jedrick is ready to play the right side. That's fascinating, guys. That's management at its best. Okay, but Jedrick he's the tough dog that he is. He's going to give it all he can. They just don't have a long mini camp and a rookie camp, which really doesn't help for the NFL. But football is to come. Secondly, they turn around and they get Grant Delpit, and they get the kid out of Grant Delpit in the third round. They get Jordan Elliott. Okay, Jordan Elliott was one of the top 4 linemen in the draft. Okay, one of the top 4. He's going to pair with Sheldon Richardson and be able to get some playing time and learn some of them veterans what it looks like in the NFL. No, he doesn't have to play every play. He doesn't have to be a starter. He'll be in the rotation, which is fantastic. That means the money you put into a player in the draft, he's going to provide dividends for the team going down the road. And then you got Grant Delpit. Okay, listen, everybody wants to talk about he couldn't make tackles. He's a fascinating athlete, but guys, he's running so fast downhill that if you telling me the only thing he got to learn to do is just slow down a little bit and fit that tackle, then brother, you have a player on your hands. He can play in the box, down in the box, 8-man front, or he can play as a safety off the hash, going too high, 2 safeties. He can do both of those. And he played in a championship program at a championship level against championship players in the SEC. Okay, check that one off. You talk about the Jacob Phillips. Okay, listen, his teammate, you are absolutely right, Bobby. He is a prototype linebacker for today's NFL. And he, the downhill thumper, and he could be a chaser. I love him. That was just fitting. He'll pair with another former Bama linebacker, Mac Wilson, and also Simeon Taki, the great linebacker inside that scheme they're gonna play on Sunday afternoons. Okay, so with that being said, Harrison Bryant, yes, he can do it all. He can be tight end. He's not a blocking tight end. He's a receiving tight end. So now you only got one football. And yes, Odell Beckham wants the ball, but guess what? Odell Beckham wants to win. And winning means everything. So when it's all said and done, you finish off the draft with Nick Harris. Absolutely, he's great. They got a good center right now with the Cleveland Browns. Okay, so let Nick Harris come out. He came out of a great Washington program. Let him play some guard. Washington has had phenomenal athletes every year coming out of that program and making it on NFL rosters. So give him the opportunity. He's a great zone blocker. Then let him get in there and play some guard. And when the time comes later on down the road for him to be the starting center, maybe a couple of years later, let him be the center. He's already in the program. But when it's all said and done, they got another big, tall receiver. Okay, another big, tall receiver out of Michigan, Donovan Peoples-Jones. You know, listen, people say that who is this kid? Well, this kid fought through some injuries. Okay, but he's still a tall kid, can run. But Coach Stefanski saw something in this kid, and Andrew Berry said, let's go with it. So watch how this works out later on, because when you go 4 wide, you know, and you still got Rashard Higgins coming back, so now you've got more than enough weapons. More importantly, you keep Baker Mayfield up and allow him to get the ball out of his hands, and you all know what he can do when he scrambles. So, Andrew Berry, thank you for being in the Cleveland Browns. Thank you for bringing in Mr. Berry. Okay, 32 years old. He's going to be a pioneer in this NFL of the young general managers and director player personnel that pull the trigger on these trades as well as draft picks. Now, Cleveland Browns, it's time for you to reap the fruits of labor. Let's have it. A great season. I say 10-6. Bobby, they might even slip up 11-5 if people don't play them square up. So they can have, but they are going to have a fantastic season in the fall.
Gentlemen, outstanding. I'm proud of you when you talk about the Cleveland Browns. Last year, as you say, Coach Jones, it's very important when you have management in this game. But, man, the words you just said about Andrew Berry, I think he's the next big thing in professional football. What more can you say? Kevin Stefanski, I think he's the next big thing as a head football coach in the National Football League. Look at the system he came out of Minnesota and the coach he came out of, Brother Butler, under Mike Zimmer. And we know how serious and disciplined he is. But when you look at the Cleveland Browns, it's no question about it. Both of you gentlemen can agree with me. This is a very, very talented football team. And they got it right in the draft. And looking at that team last year, basically it was just a line of scrimmage. And I want to apologize to you, Brother Butler, because last year, before you came on, Brother Jones, I gave Brother Butler a real hard time. I was on that Cleveland mix. And everybody around 100 yards of football was saying, Cleveland this, Cleveland that. But there was one man, and we had to be insane, that played in the league. He said they're not going nowhere because they don't have an offensive line. Baker Mayfield was under stress last year. And then when they lost Myles Garrett, their defense went in the hole. But, boy, I'm going to go back to Andrew Berry again. Boy, did he get it right. In the draft, roll tide. One of the best offensive tackles in the draft, Mr. Williams. Jack Copeland. Their offensive line is really going to be tight. But I'm going to tell you this. To me, what's going to keep Cleveland from really getting to the next level, maturity. Can Odell Beckham Jr. mature and be a leader? Can Jarvis Landry be a leader? Because when you look at that offense, gentlemen, I'm going to take you down the road. I think they can be like, let me say this, Jerry Rice, Mississippi Valley, John Taylor, Delaware State, Brent Jones, Santa Clara, Steve Wallace, Auburn, Joe Montana, the great Notre Dame, and my boy Roger Craig in Nebraska. Now, we know what they did in the 80s. Ain't it right, Brother Butler?
Got on the head, bro.
Then let's go to the 2000s. Brother Jones. Again, I'm going to go back. Can Mr. Beckham and can Mr. Landry be leaders? Isaac Bruce. This for you, Brother Jones, the 901. University of Memphis. Torrey Hope, North Carolina State. Orlando Pace, Ohio State. And Marshall Faulk, by way of New Orleans, Carver High School, San Diego State. Man, their offense, from a talent standpoint, and they got Kareem Hunt, they can be good as those two offenses. Then I'm going to go over to the defensive side. Look what they did in the offseason. They got Kyle Joseph. Granted, he was injured in Oakland, but when he was healthy, oh, my Lord, he was a football player. They got Kevin Johnson, who's a first-round pick of the Houston Texans, got traded to Buffalo. Look what type of nickel cornerback he developed into. They got B.J. Goodson, Clemson University. He played good ball over there with the Giants. And like y'all gentlemen say, you said, Coach Jones and Brother Butler, Jordan Elliott was a steal. I think he's going to be an excellent football player on the next level. They got everything to be a super, super football team. And I'm going to say this. If all them pieces can come together and the star players can mature, they could have something special since 1964 when that great man out of St. Simon, Georgia, won a world championship with him, Jim Brown. They can be knocking on the door. So to me, I'm looking at the Cleveland Browns. I'm agree with both of you gentlemen. 11-5, worst case scenario, 10-6. I think they're going to make the playoffs. But if Odell Beckham, he is the guy that everybody's looking toward to be the leader. If he comes and play at a level and lead that team, the Cleveland Browns can be very special. So that being said, gentlemen, I'm going to go all the way back to a song I heard when I was in high school in 1977 by this band out of Cincinnati, Ohio, Climbing Up the Ladder. And ain't no one way up. My people, the Isley Brothers. The Cleveland Browns might be climbing up the ladder this year. Final words, gentlemen, Mr. Bull Jones, about the Browns.
Well, I agree with you, Vincent. If Odell Beckham, if they find a way to get him the football, and it's going to go through him, okay, no disrespect to Jarvis Landry.
Absolutely.
But Odell Beckham, you get him the football, and when you're trying to get him the football, you can't cover everybody. And that's going to open up Jarvis Landry. I think last year they did it the other way. They went to Jarvis, and then they tried to get to Odell later. But make Odell the focal point, and then everything else is going to open up. And at the end of the day, he's going to be happy because the W's are going to come into play, and Cleveland Browns going to go to the playoff.
Brother Butler.
And Coach Jones, I agree with you 100%. See, the thing is, Odell can break it wide open. And then everything else, it's going to be easy cake. When they get the ball to Jarvis Landry and they get the ball to Austin Hooper, But Odell is your big play guy, and you got to have more big plays. You got to have big plays in the current day league. You got to have big plays. And so you got to depend on your big play players to make big plays in big games. And so you got to get that ball to Odell. And when you get the ball to Odell, here's what happened. His attitude is in place. Now he's a better leader now because his mind is right. You get what I'm saying? You can't look at him. He can't be the second choice in your offense.
Right.
He's got to be your number one receiver. And so they got the pieces to the puzzle now. They just got to go put it together and make it happen.
And one more thing I want to bring up to you, gentlemen. When you look at it defensively, we didn't talk about their linebacker core. Roll Tide, I think Mac Wilson is going to be the next big thing at the linebacker position in the AFC North. Jacob Phillips coming in from LSU, another fast linebacker. In the secondary, both of you gentlemen talked about Grant Delpit, but let's talk about the corners. Denzel Ward and Greedy Williams are ready to go to that Super Bowl level, to me personally.
Right.
To me, this is a football team. Granted, they went 6-10 last year, but let's face reality. In all respect to Freddie Kitchens, he's a Roll Tide guy. I'm not trying to throw him on the bus today, but he just wasn't ready for the head coach position. And John Dorsey took a chance on him, and I understood that. But now, Andrew Berry, like you said, Coach Jones, he's the next big thing in professional football. And like you said, Brother Butler, and both of you gentlemen, that's why I love you, because I got two guys that have football knowledge. Not nobody who's pretending, not nobody who's not doing their homework. These gentlemen know football. Like Brother Jones said, like Brother Butler said, it's got to go through Odell Beckham. He's the star player. You keep him happy, the Browns are going to be super. Same thing with the San Francisco 49ers. They went through Jerry Rice.
Right.
Brother Butler played against them. Just like the LA Rams went through Terry Holt and Isaac Bruce, like Brother Jones said. You got to put your superstar players out there on the level and let them lead. Absolutely. And that being said, I think this is going to be a special year with the Cleveland Browns. Mm-hmm. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. We appreciate you here at 100 Yards of Football. And y'all have a very blessed evening. Thank you, and God bless.